Welcome back to our program. I'm your host, Wu Ruiguo. Wen-cheng, in this final segment, I'm going to start off being the academic that we both are. That I'm going to ask you, you remember back in the late 1990s, Professor Samuel Huntington came up with the notion of the third way of global democratic transformation. How would you then, as a scholar, as also as a student of democracy, that evaluate the so-called the third way of democracy around the world? And do you think there are more failures than success?
We're talking about Professor Samuel Huntington's, the third wave of democratization's book. I had my contributions because I was a student. I was a student in his class.
Good.
And that's his lectures.
Okay.
His lectures become a book.
Yes.
And according to his book, the third wave of democratization started in 1974 in Portugal. So it has been more than 30 years. And I think, of course, it was a great success, because in past 30 years, more and more countries become democracy. For example, in 1978, according to Freedom House, only, I think, 30% of the countries were free in 1978, but in 2008, last year, more than 47% of the country are free.
Okay.
So you can see the increasing numbers of country which become democracy or free or free. But you can see that the momentums started, stopped, or it lose the momentum in about 2005. Because from 2005 to now, you don't see that much difference, in terms of percentage or in terms of numbers of, free countries. It loses, the momentum. There is a stagnation in democratic change.
What is your view on the reason for the stagnation?
Well, scholars are talking about the reverse of democracies, but I think, of course, there are many factors. Samuel Huntington mentioned that to make a country to become democracy, every country is unique. Every country's conditions are different. For example, Taiwan's conditions are different from those of South Korea. But we both are the successful case in the third wave of democratization.
Precisely.
But sometimes I think maybe the impact of China's model, why China's model? Because China's economic success as a model, without political liberalizations. So it's sure to a lot of developing countries whose leaders refuse democratic changes. They say we can copy China's models. For example, Burma or especially Vietnam, all of them follow the step of China. And North Korea, and so they said if we want to make changes, we will follow China's case. We will follow China's models. Economically, we can have freedoms or liberalizations, but politically, we will continue to control over the society.
So we have to see the changes happen in China first before we see changes happen.
I don't know whether I'm biased or not.
But one other, most watched cases of democratic transformation has to be in Iraq, because of the two wars that the United States launched against Iraq in the beginning of at the end of the 21st century, and then also at the beginning of the 21st century. That a lot of people are now paying attention to what will happen to Iraq after the U.S. troops are withdrawn next year from Iraq, as President Barack Obama has pledged. So what is your personal assessment? How much of a understanding do you have over the Iraqi democratic transformation?
Well, I think a few years ago, I read articles in journals or magazines or newspapers, and they said that President Bush actually, in fact, did the right things, to intervene in Iraq, because it make a very big impact in the Arabic world. So they were talking about the democratic futures in Saudi Arabia or Egypt,
and the neighboring countries in the Middle East.
Certainly everybody now is so optimistic, pessimistic because nothing happened in those countries.
No.
And without a stable societies, without orders and stability in the societies, you don't expect democracy would take root in the countries. So after United States withdraw, from Iraq, if the Iraqi government cannot deliver its service, to provide the service for the people, to change or to improve the living standard in their countries, I don't think democracy will come to Iraq. But I think United States should be responsible for that, because United States continue to be regarded as a vanguard of democracy. But in the past 7 or 8 years, because the decline of the United States soft power, as a democratic countries, so suddenly United States was regarded as a troublemakers. A lot of problems come from the United States. And how can you promote your idea? How can you promote your values in international community? Unless Obama can renew United States soft power, and that's what Hillary Clinton called smart power.
To present a new image.
To create a new image, to attract attention in international community to follow United States step. Then, of course, I think you will see more challenges to democratic change in international community.
Okay, and if we pull back the focus, to a little, closer to home in Asia. Of course, we often talk about the cases of Thailand. We see that in recent months, Thailand certainly went through a lot of internal turmoil in terms of government changing hands every few months, and the military always playing a very important role in terms of deciding who gets to control the government. And also another case that you mentioned is in Burma. And then, of course, what was, that's a very difficult situation with the dominance of the military. Even in the recent years, we've seen one of the earliest democracies in Asia, in Japan, going through some very difficult periods when governments, even though it's the same party, but the government was changing every 6 months or even sometime less than a year. So in the sense that it's not been a very good year or recent years for democracy in Asia. How do you then look at those cases in Thailand, in Burma, in even Japan, even in Indonesia? That these are the cases that we often talk about in Asia. What do you think the prospects are for wider democracy in Asia?
Of course, I think there is backward and progress in these regions. For example, Indonesia became a surprise to a lot of observers. It's a real democracy now.
And also the economy is doing well.
So I heard that they expect about 4 to 5% economic growth rate. I think it's unusual. So I'm quite impressed. Because everybody suffered from global financial crisis. So Indonesia's case, I think we should give the government the credit. The government is relatively clean, not corrupt. But Thailand is in a crisis. But in Chinese, crisis means dangers and opportunity. You consider that the demonstrations in Thailand. That's a people power. It means democracy. People can protest. Can show their voice, urging the government to listen to them. So that's a kind of democracy. But in the future, if the society continue to be in chaos, then of course democracy will lose the opportunity, we lose the times, to be further developed, So I think we expect or we hope that the people in Thailand, so both the governments and the civil society, can have the wisdom to solve the problem. If they can solve the problem peacefully, then of course the people powers, we win democracy for Thailand. And Burma, I think I'm very disappointed.
Of course.
Because the country continue to receive assistance from China. So without the pressures from China, you don't expect the democracy when you come to the country.
And how about Japan? Do you expect the Japanese government can stabilize in the coming months?
I think it depends on the definition of stability. So, in the past 6 years, or after, the step down of Koizumi, they continue to change, prime minister of the country. So in that sense, you can say that the government is not stable. But, Japan is one of the oldest democracy in Asia. But democracy, is not from, the bottom. No. It's not a bottom-up, approach. It is because, United States, write the Constitution, impose or force the Japanese to accept the Constitution. So for quite a long time, it's a one-party dominant system. So I still remember in 1980s, I met a classmate from Japan, and he told me, Japan is not democracy.
No.
In his understanding, Japan is not democracy. But Japan is the second largest economy in the world. It is the most advanced country in Asia. So it has the basis. It has the foundations for democracy to continue. I don't worry about Japan democracy.
Okay, good. I want to thank Dr. Lin Wen-cheng for coming on to the Taiwan Outlook. I certainly enjoyed the conversation with him about the Democracy Foundation in Taiwan and also about the global democracy prospects in general. Thank you very much, Wen-cheng, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my great honor.
I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you next time on MacroView Television.